Welcome back to Clark's Ring Rants. Let's get straight into today's video. Turki Alalshikh, or His Excellency as he sometimes likes to be better known. Has he been a pioneer for the sport of boxing, or has he done irreversible damage to the sport by giving fighters unrealistic expectations of what they should and what they deserve to earn? Let's discuss. Just before we get stuck into this video, just wanted to say a big shout out to everyone who's subscribed and interacting with the channel. If you're watching this video and you've not already, please be sure to go and drop a like. And if you're not subscribed as well, go and hit that subscribe button, press the bell for notifications so you get notified every time I upload. It'd be massively appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Back into the video. So who remembers 2023? Boxing was in an okay place, but there was still a lot of politics involved. Money was being cited as a reason for a lot of major fights that the world of boxing was calling for, and we weren't getting them. Oh, the money's not there. Fighter A won't fight Fighter B. They won't cross to this side of the street. All that blah, blah, blah. All that rhetoric we'd been hearing for like the last 10 plus years, you know. Think Wilder Joshua, think Spence Crawford. I know we did eventually get that fight, but I could give countless examples. And then onto the scene struts Mr. Turki Alalshikh. Now, as far as I'm aware, his first major event that he helped stage and put on was Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, that joke of a spectacle in 2023 where Fury at the deck and some people think he was lucky to win. But anyway, that was a taster of what was to come. It was a pretty decent undercard if you put it in the context of the time when it happened. You had Parker on there, you had Takam versus Bakole. It wasn't too bad. And then fast forward a few months, we get the Day of Reckoning card. We get Joshua versus Wallin, we get Wilder versus Parker, we get Kabayel versus Makhmudov, if memory serves me correct. It was a great card. And what took everyone by surprise was he had managed to get these promoters singing off the same hymn sheet, especially Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. They had an infamous beef at this stage. It was reported, I don't know how true it is, that they'd never actually sat in a room and spoken to each other. And then Turki comes along, he clicks his fingers, he says jump, they say how high, they're working together as if by magic. Proof that money talks and BS walks. All of a sudden, these promoters, they've had the carrot dangled in front of them, all the money in the world, now the fights are happening. And we saw this trend continue throughout 2024, these mega stacked cards that the promoters themselves would never, ever be able to put on. We got the 5v5 card, we got both Fury-Usyk fights, we got Joshua Dubois at Wembley, we got the last crescendo, we got the first Dimitri Bivol-Artur Beterbiev fight. Boxing seemed to be in a great place, but some of the skeptics were quick to point out, this isn't sustainable, this can't last forever, and this is actually detracting from the quality of the product on the domestic scene. A lot of fights that could have been main events in the UK were shoved way down the pecking order on a Saudi card. For example, Callum Smith versus Joshua Buatsi. It's a great main event. It could sell out the Liverpool Arena. It was a great fight, but it was shoved way down the undercard and it probably didn't get the exposure it deserved. I can't remember when exactly, but Eddie Hearn was singing Turki Alalshikh's praises and he went on Simon Jordan and Simon Jordan posed a question to him. I'll paraphrase because I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said words to the effect of, now that Turki's got skin in the game, he knows how it works, he's rubbed shoulders with you, Frank, Bob Arum, Al Heyman, whoever, what's to stop him starting his own promotional company, cutting out the middleman and doing a deal directly with the fighters? Now, many people probably rubbish this off at the time, but that appears to be exactly what is happening now with Zuffa, Turki, Seller. They're doing deals directly with the fighters. They're cutting out the middleman and they're sort of marginalising Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. Now, some people are going to say, well, this was always going to happen. Regardless of whether Turki has a bottomless pit of money or not, you can't just expect him to keep giving you all this money to put all these shows on and he's not going to want anything in return. It's a transactional relationship like most things in life are. And now, I think we're starting to see Turki come to collect his debts. He's just taking fighters straight off Eddie Hearn, Conor Benn for example, and he's blocking the promoters out of deals. Hence, Frank Warren looking to sue him for £1 billion. I made a video about that last week. I'll leave a link to it in the description. But yeah, Turkey is now coming to collect his debts. He gave them all this money. He masked his original intentions behind the veil of just coming into the sport, just giving these promoters a blank check, and just wanting to see the best fight the best. He almost came across as a fan with just loads of money at the start, and he just threw it at whatever, blank check here, get them two to fight, I want to see it happen. But now I think we're seeing Turkey's true intentions. He really wants a stake in this boxing game, hence his seller company, hence him teaming up with TKO and Dana White. They want to try and monopolise the sport of boxing and implement a similar model to what the UFC have got. And that is going to leave Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and other promoters in a bit of a sticky situation, because they've done so much for him, they've got him through the door. He's facilitated them to put on all these massive, massive cards, which I must reiterate they wouldn't have been able to do without his financial backing. And now he's just taking the fighters off him. He's leaving them high and dry. And as you can imagine, Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, they're a bit cheesed off at this because they've just been left high and dry. They've been caught with the pants round the ankles. And what are they to do? They can't badmouth him because they need to keep that relationship cordial. They might need some of that Turkey money to put on big fights in the future. For example, does Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, if Anthony Joshua comes back, does that fight happen without the Saudi money? I could give countless examples of this. They need the money. The fighters have become accustomed to a certain level of paycheck. They're not going to back down now. Just think, if you'd been working, you could be doing any job, and you'd been getting paid $50 or £50 an hour, and then 6 months later that gets cut to 25, it gets halved. You're not going to stay and do that job, are you? You're going to go and find another job that's paying you that amount of money. Same applies to these boxers. So that's why you're seeing some of them just sit it out and wait and wait and wait for that call from Turkey. So what do I suggest the promoters do? They need to stick together first and foremost. No more bickering, strength in numbers, because Turkey and Dana White is coming for all their heads. They've all got the cards marked. They've all got fighters. They want to take over to the Zuffa platform. So instead of bickering like Oscar and Eddie do, they need to work together, because if he isolates them, he can just pinch all their fighters. These guys need to be working together more than ever now. They need to put politics, egos, everything aside, and they need to work in the best interests of their companies. As for the British promoters, I think they need to return to putting on more primetime Saturday night British events. We've got Callum Smith versus David Morrell coming up. We need more of that, because there's a lot of fights, like I say, they've been pushed way down the pecking order on these Saudi cards. They could have been main events, so I'd love to see a focus on returning to this. Maybe we could get Josh Kelly in his first defence, primetime slot, Sunderland. Dalton Smith, a fellow Sheffield man like myself, get him a primetime slot, Sheffield Arena, big defence, build his profile. The sport is massive, but the small hall show and just the Saturday night circuit shows in general have been neglected over the last few years. Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, they need to return to that. They need to make that their bread and butter. Particularly Eddie Hearn. Frank Warren still puts on a lot of good domestic shows, but Eddie Hearn sort of neglected that in the last few years. He's focused too much on America and the Saudi market. Eddie, get putting those Saturday night matchroom shows on as much as you can this year. It's going to be key to your success, in my opinion. But what do you think? What are the promoters going to do post Turkey? How are they going to keep the fighters happy? How are they going to stop more fighters from being pinched from under the nose? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.